From Washington, this is VOA News. Arab allies agree to a campaign against Islamic State militants. And contrary to earlier reports, a Nigerian city remains under the control of Boko Haram. I'm Ira Mellman reporting the U.S. and its main Arab allies have agreed to a coordinated campaign against Islamic State militants. The agreement was reached in an announcement in a joint communiqué issued after meetings in Saudi Arabia Thursday. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is in Saudi Arabia for those talks. More from VOA State Department correspondent Scott Stearns.
Secretary Kerry is echoing President Obama's denunciation of the ISIL group as not Islamic because no religion condones the killing of innocents.
ISIL claims to be fighting on behalf of Islam, but the fact is that its hateful ideology has nothing to do with Islam. ISIL is a manifestation of evil, a vicious terrorist organization.
In addition to Saudi leaders, Kerry's meeting in Jeddah with officials from Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar. Kerry is also asking for better efforts to stop individuals from sending money to extremist groups. Kerry will push to stop ISIL oil smuggling through the Jordanian and Turkish borders, where the senior State Department official says authorities have pledged to do all they can to stop it. Scott Stearns, VOA News, Jeddah.
Officials from the Nigerian city of Bama are refuting the government's claim that troops recaptured the city from Boko Haram militants. The head of the Bama Development Association told reporters on Thursday that Bama remains under Boko Haram control and residents are in dire need of help. This is VOA News. A South African judge has begun a lengthy and dramatic ruling over the fate of runner Oscar Pistorius for shooting his girlfriend at his home last year. The hotly anticipated verdict follows a lengthy criminal trial. VOA's Anita Powell reports from the court in Pretoria, South Africa.
Judge Thokozile Masipa stopped abruptly and inexplicably short Thursday, just moments before she was expected to rule on Oscar Pistorius' fate. In the hours before, she had systematically laid out the case against him for shooting dead his girlfriend last year and essentially dismissing the graver murder charges against him. As she began the final option, the lesser charge of culpable homicide,
I am of the view that the accused acted too hastily and used excessive force. It is clear that his conduct was negligent.
Then she said, I will have to stop there. The verdict will not be official until she formally pronounces it Friday, with Pistorius standing to hear it. Anita Powell, VOA News, Pretoria, South Africa.
NATO says about 1,000 Russian troops remain inside Ukraine a day after the Ukrainian president, Petro Poroshenko, reported that most of the Russian forces assisting separatists there had returned home. Mr. Poroshenko said Wednesday 70% of the Russian troops in Ukraine had crossed back over the border, raising hopes the ceasefire agreement reached last week would hold. A NATO military officer said Thursday the alliance has no information to that effect. The unnamed officer said such a development would be a good first step. The officer said there are still substantial amounts of military equipment in eastern Ukraine and approximately 20,000 troops on the Russian side of the border. Moscow has denied sending its troops and military hardware into Ukraine, even though separatist leaders said they are being held by Russian soldiers who use their vacation time to battle Ukrainian troops on Ukrainian soil. Many observers believe the intervention of Russian forces in the fighting in eastern Ukraine turned the tide in favor of the rebels, who just until a few weeks ago were losing ground to government forces. Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council reported Thursday that separatist forces have extended the territory they control along Ukraine's border with Russia southward of the Sea of Azov. The United States is joining the European Union in intensifying coordinated sanctions on Russia in response to its interference in Ukraine. A statement from President Obama calls Russian actions illegal, and he reiterated the U.S. and its allies are prepared to impose mounting cost on Russia by deepening and broadening sanctions in Russia's financial, energy, and defense sectors. I'm Ira Mellman.
That's the latest world news from VOA.